Okay, we're live and welcome to the seventh town hall. This is going to be a small town hall. We're going to talk about very important topics for LD talent. So I've appreciated your feedback on LD Ventures over the last several town halls, but now back to LD talent, which still is our core business. Although we would like ventures to also be just as vibrant, LD talent is still our core business, which is matching developers to clients. So it would be important to get feedback on that. In particular, though, before we start, I just thought that I would share that LD Ventures, in particular, the projects around mental health that we're working on right now, they're immensely valuable, especially as a lot of us are working remotely. There is one particular thing that one of the LD Ventures entrepreneurs said to me that I really liked, was that in ancient times we had leaders like spiritual leaders and political leaders who would very much think about how people are interacting in society, whether they get time to rest and meditate and things like that. But nowadays, when we're working remotely in front of our screen, we spend all day looking at a screen, and we don't necessarily have that sort of leadership in order to that steps in and says, okay, we need a break. Okay, we need to meet as a society and take a break from our work and things like that. Life has changed. And so thinking about maybe software can offer some of that leadership. Maybe software can offer some of that leadership when it comes to us and we're working, looking at a screen for 5 hours in a row. And maybe it can say, stop, take a breath, go meditate, look outside, and then come back. And maybe software needs to guide us through our days, just like how in ancient times, a clock tower for the town might guide people through their days. And so that is one of the tidbits that I wanted to share. Another thing that has just been very important to us is realizing that it is actually possible for developers in Africa, in South Asia, in majority world countries to start companies remotely and target the US market. And at first it was just a vision, but now we're seeing concretely to people who are entrepreneurs, LD Ventures entrepreneurs, building ideas, interviewing potential customers, and it's starting to seem more real. So I really appreciate the participation on that front. Yeah, and so Emma is joining. She's one of our LD Ventures entrepreneurs. So, and I appreciate her work as well. But as much as LD Ventures is a great vision, I think that it's important for us to look at the LD talent business, because the more business that we get for LD talent, the more clients that we get in for LD talent, the better our business will be able to do, and the better we'll be able to support more ventures as well. And with that said, I'd like to introduce the topic of today. The topic of today is, how do we improve the vetting of LD? How do we make sure that the developers are surfaced in the best way possible? And specifically, how do we make sure that our developers have a good amount of experience? There are a few avenues where I just have questions for you. And I'm going to pose these questions. We are a network of developers. There are a lot of networks of developers. There's Upwork, there's TopTal, there's Andela, etc. The one that makes LD different is that we're learning dollars. We're incentivizing the lifelong learning. We pay people $40 to go out, learn something new, and post it in our blog, and post it in our blog and in our GitHub. Now, when people post it in our blog and our GitHub, they get $40 and $15 to review. Now, this seems like a great opportunity to me. You can do whatever passion project that you want, learn something new, whatever you want, and you get paid for it, and you get a peer review. So why do we only see one or max 2 people per month doing it when we have a network of 340 people? What do you think are the reasons why people don't do these lifelong learning projects and improve their resume? If they have more resume experiences, then they should get more clients, right? And clients should be more interested in that. So why don't people do that? I'm curious from you as developers so that we can improve the program.
I don't know for others. For me, I've tried a couple of times to write about passion projects or the new skill I'm learning. But I often realize that it's either other people out there have written articles about the same thing, and from what I learned, to post an article on the blog, there shouldn't be, the competition should not be too much, where you can post the article on LD Talent. So that was a major blocker for a lot of articles that, in my case, I would have wanted to write. And yeah, I think that was a major blocker, the competitiveness of the article compared to other articles that are already available.
Okay.
For instance, if I want to write, maybe if I'm learning about React.js, for instance, there are a lot of articles out there about React.js. So it gets confusing. What am I going to write about now that I'm learning React.js, for instance? What will I write about, since there are a lot of articles about React outside the internet?
Yeah. Okay, so that's one factor. That makes sense, that it has to be unique, but it's hard to find something unique. And moreover, you have to write about it. What else? What are some of the other reasons why? You know, when people join LD Talent, they're joining because we're a different community from Upwork, TopTal, and Della, because we incentivize the lifelong learning. So, but people are not actually doing the lifelong learning projects. There's a lot of times people join LD Talent, they have 1 or 2 years of experience. And so they have all done the same skills, right? React Native, or not even React Native, React and Node or something like that. But there are 50 other React Node developers in the network, and many who have more experience. So why would a client pick you over someone else who has more experience? So we encourage the developers to find out skills that clients really are in demand for. For instance, right now, we can't fill a Swift developer position. We can't find a developer who knows Swift. Another example is Flutter. There are very few Flutter developers compared to React Native. Another example is D3. There are a lot of data visualization roles, and we don't have many data visualization developers. There's a lot of machine learning engineers and some natural language processing engineers, but there are not that many people who do blockchain, but there's so much high demand for blockchain. So actually these lifelong learning projects, they are an opportunity to not be a jack of all trades, especially the trades that people know a lot of, and to learn some of the skills that are more in demand. And if you look at what the clients are requesting for, especially if you're a developer and you know, for instance, you know native iOS app development and native Android app development, you're going to be in such demand. Or if you know Flutter, you're going to be in you're going to be in demand. If you do microservices like AWS Lambda, you're going to be in demand. But we don't see people sort of saying, oh, I can basically learn something new in that domain, and if I do a unique project about it, I can post on the LD blog and get $40 for that, add it to my resume, and that increases the likelihood that I'll get a client. Now, one of the problems that Jehosh Jehoshaphat mentioned was that the articles have to be a unique project. Now, when we say unique, it doesn't have to be unique technically. So technologically, the technology can be, you're just learning Flutter, or you're just learning improving your skills in iOS or whatever. But the project domain, the project itself has to be unique. So for instance, are you building a car search app, or are you building a new type of data visualization in D3 that hasn't been done before? So those are some of the things, right? Solidity, you can learn Solidity. You're not going to do a breakthrough in blockchain, but maybe you apply it in a new way to a problem that hasn't been solved before. So what are other reasons why you think people are not doing these projects?
Another question. I have a question. If you do a project, the people that will review a project, they are required to have a device that they can use to review the project. For instance, if I do a VR project or Oculus Quest, somebody can have access to the project on GitHub, but for them to test out and maybe go through the blog to follow the process and have something they can test at the end of the day, they'll need an Oculus Quest to test and then review. So the chances of there's someone with an Oculus Quest to go through the process and review is often low. So how are they able to test? Do they necessarily need to run the output of your project while reviewing?
Is there an emulator?
There's not really. Only the developers can try to put something together for them to test in editor, but most of like 80% of the functionalities will be limited.
Okay. I was going to give one of those close cliched responses, where there's a will, there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. But actually, I think your point is really good here. The point is that 80% of the features are not going to be feasible if you don't have the device in that particular case. So yes, maybe you could post up front in the engineers channel, does anyone else have an Oculus and be willing to review? But in that particular case, yeah, I would probably just, in that particular case, maybe you would have to make a video or something, and maybe I would review it. And if I don't have access to an Oculus at that time, then I would just review the video and the project write-up. So that is a particular case where you're right. There are some limitations. But I think in general, yeah, go ahead.
Even ML projects and AI projects. Imagine I've come up with a passion project and I'm running on my Windows machine with a production grade GPU, and then someone needs to test what I did on their machine running. Maybe the person is a Mac user. They will not have access to the kind of GPU I use to do my model training and the inference at the end of the day. So it's a limitation for the person that will review the project. So they can decide to try maybe Google Collab or something in the cloud, but they may still have some limitation to go through all those steps to give the result at the end of the day.
That's funny. That actually came up just now in our LD Ventures discussion with one of our LD Ventures entrepreneurs. He was trying to do something on his own GPU and it was not working because he needed more memory. And so now we're investigating cloud GPUs. And we might look into Google Collab as well. Is Google Collab give you free GPU access, or do you still need to pay for it?
You know, you have a free GPU for 30 to 1 hour. Then afterward, if the load becomes too much, you now need to pay for it.
I will look into that actually. Maybe we should use Google Colab for that project. But yeah, your point is right. Maybe people could use Google Colab, but maybe maybe what they do is just they train on their own. They can't reproduce the training. Maybe they could reproduce the training on a smaller amount of data, but maybe the reviewer doesn't need to reproduce the training. Maybe all the reviewer needs to do is just look at the code, see that it makes sense, and then run the inference model. So just see that it's predicting the way they said it's predicting, and then look at the output of the application. So yeah, there are certain limitations. The reviewer in that case cannot do the training. You're right. Maybe something that we just need to make people aware of is that it's okay. It's okay if not every single aspect of the project is tested, but whatever is possible to test is tested. That's all. The point is to use the opportunity to learn something new, and then the reviewer, they're just making sure that the person actually did learn something new and apply it in new context. Any other reasons why you think people might not be, are the reasons why people are not doing the lifelong learning incentives? You brought up great points, but Joho, by the way, makes a lot of sense. Like, yeah.
The blog and the YouTube videos, are they the same? Like, can you do either blog or YouTube videos for LD YouTube channels?
Correct.
Some people
you
may
can.
be confusing videos as opposed to writing articles, like walking people through the whole process in a video tutorial or something.
That's a great point. Actually, I don't make that clear enough. You can actually do a video instead of a blog, but people are not aware of that because my post doesn't say that. So that's something I can easily fix. Thank you. Okay, maybe we can move to the, or are there any other reasons why you think people might not be doing those lifelong learning projects? The idea is this: clients come to our platform and they are searching for engineers and they don't find people experienced enough for their projects in the skills that they want or in general. And it's such a shame because the developers, they want a client, the clients, they want a developer, but the developers are not learning new things that the clients want. And the clients want developers who are more experienced than the ones that are in our platform. And so we want to solve that problem. And so the solution we put forth is lifelong learning projects, but it's working to an extent, but not fully, right? So how do we solve this problem?
I may be wrong, but I think sometimes the clients, they try to quantify knowledge by number of years a developer has worked with a particular project. I think sometimes they use that in shooting themselves in the foot or in getting. A developer could be using a technology for maybe 3 months. The person learned the technology 3 months ago. But because of other experiences the person have had, they can build upon that 3-month knowledge a production-ready product that someone else who may have been using the product, using the technology for 2-3 years may not be able to, because the person had other skills that this one complement. So sometimes I see clients asking, we want this person to have this number of years of experience, number of years of experience. But I feel like it does not really, the number of years does not, what's the right word to use? May not necessarily reflect. Be that, does not reflect that the person really have the knowledge. Yeah. I may have 1 month experience with React, for instance, but I can use it to build a production. It's just a technology that somebody can learn in a couple of days or a week. But it's not that different from other technologies like Vue. Just a couple of differences that are insignificant, for instance.
And Emma, what about you? You were going to say something, Emma?
Yeah, so personally for me, I think it's the idea behind the uniqueness of the project. So I thought when doing a passion project, it had to be something like no one has ever done before. So before starting, I would make a Google search to see if someone has ever written anything around something I was trying to do, but then you find it. So maybe if you can make it clear that the project doesn't have to be like super unique, but just something that you learned and and write an article out of it, that would make more sense.
That's a really great piece of feedback. Yeah. The thing that has to be unique is something about the project. So the technology doesn't have to be unique. It's just you applied it to a new area. Like, so for instance, you followed a tutorial for how to apply deep learning to, I don't know, image generation, and you applied it instead to generating music or something like that. Like the application, right? For instance, with your LD Ventures project, right? You're not necessarily building a new technology, right? You're going to use existing technologies like React or whatever to build your website eventually when you build something. But the problem you're solving in food tech, that is sort of unique. So maybe I could explain it better. That's a good piece of feedback.
Yeah.
Was there anything more, Emma?
No.
Okay. Oh, welcome, Obua. Thank you. Olu, Emma, Obua, Joho. Thank you very much. One of the things that I wanted to bring up now was, so I get it. I know that it's tough to come up with something unique, and it's effort. So that's the elephant in the room here. Oh yeah, he's paying $40 for us to write a GitHub blog project, but that's going to take a lot of effort, right? It's not that much money for the amount of effort, but it's also, no one else in the world is going to pay people to go out and learn something new, right? So that's the difference between learning dollars and anyone else. But I still get that it's a lot of effort to come up with something new. And so one of the ideas I was thinking about was, there are the kind of people who are going to come up with something new and post on our blog. Good for them. That's good. They're learning new things, they're growing their experience, and hopefully they'll get a client. And we've seen that happen. We've seen that happen, I think, with Marishna's profile. She did a few blog projects and then she got a client. We saw that happen with a few other people like McDavid. And I look at their profile sometimes and I see, wow, he did those 2 articles. She did those 2 articles. They learned something new and then they got a client. But there are going to be the people who don't want to do that, right? They're like, I don't know. I'm the kind of person who just likes to solve problems. I get problems. People give me the problems and I solve them. I'm not the kind of person who wants to come up with my own project. Maybe we can make something for them. So the idea I had was, you know how all these different websites out there, HackerRank and what are the other ones? Kaggle and things, they have coding challenges, ML challenges, coding challenges, and such. But they're like competitions. Now, I personally, I don't like competition because I think it creates stress, and I'm against stress because I want to help people have a good mental health and such. But what I was thinking was, maybe we could create different coding challenges and use them as ways to collect data on our developers. So you can get paid for creating a coding challenge that's, I mean, it has to be a little bit unique. Again, the unique thing, but you can get paid for creating a coding challenge, or you can get paid for solving a coding challenge. So developers can create different challenges, or they could solve them, and then they get paid a little bit of money for doing either thing. And that way, and then they can put those on our profile. We can put their tests, their scores on those on the profile. So clients benefit because they get more data on the developers, not just that they say they know React or they say they know D3, but they solved a coding challenge in D3. Developers get more, like the good developers who are actually able to do good work are able to get their profiles to show that how good they are. And, you know, it's more than just a blog project. They've solved a challenge and they have a score on their profile for that challenge. And developers who are even more advanced can get credit for creating a challenge And so, and also people are more familiar with the challenges than they are with the GitHub blog projects, because lifelong learning projects is just something that I came up with based on, oh, there are a lot of online resources for learning, MOOCs and other things. Why can't people just do a lifelong learning project? But people are not really familiar with that. But people are really familiar with Kaggle and HackerRank and things. So, but maybe something different we could do is we could crowdsource the development of the ideas, of the challenges, and then people can solve them, and everyone gets a little bit of money if they solve them, and the clients can see the scores. So feedback on this idea, but even more than feedback, your extension ideas. Like, how would you implement this? If you think it's good, or if you think it's bad, why is it bad?
Okay, so I think it's a good idea. Then again, you should also add the competitive programming, because I love competitive programming and it's not stressful for me. It's the adrenaline that it brings.
Mm-hmm.
So apart from the coding challenges, maybe add some competitive projects. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we could make it opt into the competition. So people who want to be competitive, they can be competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good idea. Maybe it's because in my life, I went to all these stressful schools. Actually, I would say Stanford was the least stressful. Stanford and Northwestern have been chill. My high school and middle school were just so much test taking and such. I went to Silicon Valley's high school, Harker, and so there was so much competition. Everyone was trying to get into the Ivy Leagues in Stanford and such. But actually, yeah. But we have to understand that different cultures are different. For instance, Emma, she likes the competition and it helps with the adrenaline rush. So different people want different things. And so it's so important for me to, and for us to listen to all of you when we design, so we know what you all want. Is it going to be easy? What are the challenges we're going to face if we actually tell people to come up with coding challenges? Because I can't write them all myself, right? Maybe I can create a framework, but is it going to be easy to come up with these coding challenges? And what domains, right? Algorithms is one thing, but we need them for all the top domains. We need coding challenges for React. We need coding challenges for React Native. We need coding challenges for Flutter. We need coding challenges for machine learning, TensorFlow or Torch. We need coding challenges for game development and VR or blockchain or WordPress. You know, this is such a new project. I don't even know where to start and how to make it tractable. Any ideas?
I'm not sure about other platforms, but for like programming, you can have algorithms, project-based challenges, like create a website, maybe add some frameworks to it in a specific language. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe one of the challenges can be when you're creating a coding challenge is maybe writing the test cases and making sure that the test cases passes and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason that it's so important, why I'm bringing this up, is because clients have actually told us, you know, LD has the best pricing model, because, you know, Upwork has fine pricing because they don't take that much of a cut, just like LD, but their quality is not good. LD's quality is much better than Upwork, but clients have frankly told us Turing and TopTal are offering more data. Now, Turing and TopTal are taking half your salary, so we're going to beat them if we make sure we do better vetting. But what are we doing for vetting right now? The interview, looking at your GitHubs and such, and keeping track of the responsiveness and work session data and approval. But we need something more. We are doing sometimes little automated coding tests for some people, but we need to make that more of the norm, and in the learning dollar style where you get paid for doing these challenges. But the real thing is, when we get the data on your scores, then we can put it on your profile and the clients will see that. And then they'll be like, oh, wow, Emma passed 3 different coding challenges, or Obwa, he sort of, he has a lot of experience on his profile in React, but he also passed he has less experience in Flutter, but he passed a coding challenge in Flutter, like that. So that people can sort of see that the really smart developers who are really go-getters, they stand out because and even if they don't have the energy or the inspiration to do their own lifelong learning blog project, if they just do a bunch of coding challenges, they get their profile to start looking really good, and clients will start getting more interested in them. Any feedback on this? Do you think clients will be interested? Do you think enough people will do it so that the clients will actually see it? Thank you, Mohammed. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks. He said it's a great idea. Yeah, Turing does this. We don't want to just copy Turing, but at the same time, if we do it in our own way, maybe we can get more data on the profile so the clients are able to see that this person is truly vetted. We're planning to put the interview data. We score all of the interviews on like intellectual merit, algorithmic thinking, et cetera. But there's only so much we can get from looking at your GitHubs and interview data. Maybe there's more that we can get from offering paid coding challenges. Or maybe it'll be a competition where the winner wins some certain amount of money, like Emma was saying. We have to figure out whatever is the right structure and what is financially viable. But if you have any ideas on this, I'll stop now.
So will we have badges on our profile showing you've completed a certain challenge?
That's the idea.
Competition.
That's the idea, yeah.
Okay.
Here's another thing that happens, and I want to understand, how do we solve this problem? We have 350 developers in our network, but out of them, I think only half will get clients. And the clients, they just go after the same developers who always get clients. And so some developers keep winning and getting more and more work. And then a lot of the developers don't get enough work. And some of them, I'm like, okay, you have 1 year of experience. If you want to get more work, you should start doing some GitHub blog projects so you have more experience on your profile. But maybe the 1 year problem, the number, it shouldn't be about years, as Jehoshaphat was saying. Maybe we should emphasize more than years. We should emphasize number of projects done. And that's something that we're trying to change a little bit in our UI instead of years. But basically, if you're a developer who knows React because you've gone through a boot camp and you've done a Netflix clone, well, everyone else in the network has gone through a boot camp, done a Netflix clone, and knows React. So how are you going to expect to get a client? Whereas, so we want to tell those people to do the lifelong learning projects. Now, if they don't do them, maybe one other way they could stand out is by doing the coding challenges in unique areas. Like as immediately, if a person who knows React, who's done a Netflix clone project, they're the same as everyone else. But if they also do a coding challenge in Solidity, right? And they do 2 of those, and then they now all of a sudden they know a little bit about blockchain, they're going to be differentiated. But to explain that one-on-one with each developer, I don't have the time to do that. So that's why I'm asking you, what are ways to sort of get people to realize honestly, with your profile right now, just telling people honestly, with your profile right now, which client is going to hire you? They have so many better options. But if you just do these 2 things, yeah, it's not going to make as money as making money from a client, But if you just do these two things, then you're going to make money, because then you're going to get a client who's going to actually want to hire you because you're differentiated. How do we sort of explain this to the people? Some of you are more experienced, and so you have worked with a lot of clients, or so you sort of know you're making money on the platform, and it's good. But how do we explain this to the developers who just join and they expect that a client is just going to come knocking down their door? Yeah, how do we explain that? Like literally right now, there are probably 50 developers in our network who want a match, right? Out of the 350, many of them, right? Several hundreds of developers have gotten work from clients, but there's got to be 50 to 100 who have not. And literally right now, if any one of them spent the next 2 weeks learning Swift, they would get a client, right? I mean, they have to have an iOS device, but we have a client right now who's waiting for a Swift developer. But there's no one in our network who matches that right now. And so how do I sort of solve this? How do I get the developers to learn what the clients need and get them to work together? Because we get a lot of client signups, and I want it to be our goal that every client who signs up finds a developer that they like. But in order to do that, right? In order to do that, we have to have a lot of developers. But if I just keep growing the supply side, the developer side, and we go from 350 to 1,000 developers, right? We'll have more developers. And so maybe all the clients will get a match. But then we'll have so many more developers in our network who don't have a match. So the only way to really solve it better than TopTal and Andela and Upwork is if we keep incentivizing the developers to learn new things that the clients want, right? Because if there's more developers in the network, that's more people competing against you. And we don't want that, right? Because if we have more people competing against you, then each person is going to get less work overall, unless we get more clients. But we are getting more clients. Now we have a ton of clients. But when we have a ton of clients, each of one of them wants very specific things. And many of the people are able to find good matches. But many of the clients, they come in, they look at our developers and they're like, they don't have this exact skill area or deep experience in this skill area that I need, and they leave. And we don't want any client to leave. So that's the problem here.
One question I have is, how do clients measure deep experience? What's the parameter that they use for measuring deep experience?
Here are the things I've heard them say. So the first thing they look at is on-platform experience. Now that's a problem in and of itself, because many of the developers have experience off-platform in other experiences, because LD is a new platform, right? Compared to Upwork or something. Another thing that so maybe we need to emphasize their other experiences as well, which we do in the resume. Another thing they look at is years of experience. And that's a point that you brought up, Jiho, is that years of experience is not necessarily the same thing as maybe number of projects or code produced and things. So we encourage the developers to add GitHub code and other things to their projects, but sometimes it's proprietary and you can't do that. Another thing that the clients look at is the availability time, right? How available are you? And so they take it seriously. So developers need to keep their profiles up to date with when they're available. Another thing that clients get frustrated with is when they get introduced to the developer in the interview channel, the developers don't respond. I don't know why the developers don't respond sometimes. Maybe are they waiting for the client to first message them? But like, if you want the job, you should talk first, right? Another reason is just chatting back and forth tires out the clients. Maybe we need to create a system where the clients express when they're available, and then the developers just book like a Calendly on the client's schedule, so that the scheduling back and forth is not an issue. We lost 2 clients recently because the scheduling back and forth just pissed them off. So those are some of the things that piss off the clients. The clients are looking for developers who are going to come in and say, I can take care of this, this, and this, and make your project happen in this number of hours. And they don't always get that experience. So that's our responsibility to figure out how to improve our vetting so that we can. Another reason that clients get upset is because there are so many options. There are so many developers in our network, and they're not sure who's the best fit. They're not able to understand who's better and who's worse for whatever their project is. And that's why I brought up the coding challenges, is that maybe it'll give them some more clarity on who knows what. But you know, we need more transparent, better vetting. We have some, but we need more. We need to be able, if you look at like a Turing profile, right? Turing profiles have certain amounts of information. TopTal profiles have certain amount of information. If we can get our profiles, which have other information, to also have the information that they have, then, and we're a network that takes 20% rather than whatever 50% that they take, then we can just blow them out of the water and beat the market. But those are some of the things that clients are saying when they compare. They want the scores on the projects, but right now all they have is like self-proclaimed experience. I know I talked about tangential things as well, but does that answer your question, Joho?
Yeah, to an extent it does. Just I feel like clients they're not getting the best because of the parameters, most of the parameters they are using to measure these things. Let me give you a practical example.
Mm-hmm.
I've not done anything with ASP.NET MVC in the last let's say 4 or 5 years, right? But I've used other MVC framework that the moment I need to do a project in ASP.NET MVC, I can do anything I want with it. But a client may want somebody who has, let's say, 4 years experience with ASP.NET MVC. So am I a fit for that client? Am I not a fit for that client?
Yeah, that's a great example. We are working on we had another idea to solve that to an extent, which is skill hierarchies. So so there's one skill hierarchy, which is like, if you know Python, if you know Django, then you know Python. So we should auto mark everyone as knowing Python if they know Django. That's one type of hierarchy, but this one's a little bit more fuzzy, because if you have done another MVC net framework, then you have done ASP, you haven't done ASP.NET, but it should add a little bit of points, right? It should add some points to your profile. Maybe the matching algorithm or something could be improved for that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There was one other project idea I had. Maybe we could put a D3 visualization that we could make ourselves, a data visualization that shows what skills are in demand. Because you can kind of infer it if you look at the jobs posted on our profile, but maybe it needs to be more obvious, like to people what they need to upskill on in order to get more clients. And also people need to treat it as a process, right? Yeah, if you have a client right now, that's good. But if you want to keep getting consistent work and getting more of the clients who sign up on LD to stay on the platform and hire you, you need to constantly be learning new skills. And maybe this visualization of what skills are in demand and what skills are in supply, right? Then what do you think of that idea? If we put a visualization of what skills are in demand and supply on our website and share it with the developers so they know what's important to be upskilling on.
That's a fantastic idea.
Let me ask you this. How much time per week do you spend learning? Just learning new things for your career?
Personally, I dedicate up to 4 hours every day.
Wow. 4 hours is a lot per day. How about the rest of you? Yeah, go ahead.
I try as things that are repetitive tasks for me, like maybe cooking, doing dishes. I try to outsource them so that I make sure that I get my 8 hours sleep. And then every other thing is make sure after I get my 8 hours sleep, I get time to work and then make sure my skills is up to date, updating the present skills I have and then learning new ones.
Excellent. That's really good. That's really, really good. How about the rest of you? How much time do you spend? For Mohammed says he tries to spend at least an hour or two learning new skills. That's great. That's great. Okay, so those were the ideas I wanted to run by you. It seems like they seem pretty good. So yeah, we'll try to implement some of those. My PhD research, I rarely ever talk about my PhD research with all of you, but it's basically it is to see if we can help people learn design patterns and architectures and learn about things directly from professional code. So imagine there's GitHub. You've done all the tutorials, you've done all the online courses, you know the basics of programming. But in order to really become a true expert, the kind of experts who are in high demand, you need to have deep expertise of design patterns and architectures, whether you're building a web application or mobile application or whatever it translates to in terms of machine learning processes and things. What if you could take the GitHub code bases and just learn directly from them? Right now, if you go to a GitHub code base of professional code and you try to read it, it's going to be boring. It's going to be really boring to read the code like that. So you can't learn new things. But what if we could build some tools and modules where people could maybe use a Chrome extension or use a command line tool to basically run a tool on a professional code base that sort of walks them through some of the professional code and maybe asks them some challenges as well. That's another thing that's more long-term, but that's another type of module in addition to these coding challenges and the GitHub blog projects that I want basically to create paid learning opportunities so people can gain more and more experience on our platform. Because right now, maybe we have some young engineers who only have 2 years of experience on our platform. And so right now, maybe we're the underdog and we're trying to compete against Townhall and Upwork and all them. But 2-3 years down the road, because of the number of clients who are coming to our platform, you know, and our pricing model and our way of working with those Slack work sessions and stuff, people are really liking it. Our free trial has close to a 90% conversion rate. So if we can add these learning incentives and get people to constantly be learning, all the people right now in our network who have 2 years of experience, 3 years down the road, they have 5 years of experience. And if we make sure that they're constantly learning and learning the in-demand technologies, we will be the best developer network out there. So that is something that we're really focused on right now. And I would like to build whatever you want me to build that you think will make us better next year, better 2 years from now, and better for you all as well, so you get more clients. Yeah, thanks, Mohammed. He's just wrote that he supports the coding challenge. It would get our engineers engaged and motivated. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I'm trying to, if you can't think of it right now, but later it comes to mind, just let me know if there's any more unique statistics, like something that you pride yourself on that we could surface better to the clients, right? Because if we can surface your best qualities better to the clients, vetting is one thing. Vetting is, it seems like it's just weeding out people. And that is true to an extent, but it's not just weeding out people. Vetting is also about highlighting the strengths of really good people in our network. And so if you can tell me if there's anything more we could surface on the profiles, on the search results that clients are seeing that can make you stand out, let me know and I'll try to include that in there so that you stand out, so that you get the clients, right? Some of you are focused on your ventures projects, and so that's fine. We're working on ventures. But for those of you who are focused on getting clients, and for the others, for your peers who are focused on getting clients, it's really important that we highlight you in better ways than the competition does, so that you get more work on LD. And so the clients don't leave our platform ever. Cool. Well, I have a lot of feedback to work on with my co-founder in order to improve our network, and with some of the developers we've hired internally who help us build things. So we'll work on it, and we'll try to make the network better and better, so that we're getting a lot of clients, but so that none of them ever leave. They always find good developers on it. So thank you. All right, we'll conclude this if there's nothing else. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Please remember to highlight the YouTube projects
Yeah,
videos on the YouTube channels in the next thing you post.
it's a great idea. Yeah, I made a note of that. I have it in my notes. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.